We're here to make a new type of news.
New insights, new styles, and new topics every day.
We are News Generation.
Making news just for you. It's February 19th here in Seoul. I'm Shin-Yoon, and you're watching News Generation. Joining me in the studio is Walter Lee.
Lovely to be here.
Good morning, and Cheska Dain-ha.
Happy Monday, everyone!
Happy Monday! Now, both are here to speak on behalf of people in their 20s and 30s. As usual, let's start with our news feed, which covers different hashtags and news items that have been trending on social media over the past 24 hours. Our first story, 50 school zones in Seoul will be lowering the speed that drivers can pass by these child protection zones on roads near schools. As of now, the speed limit is 30 kilometers per hour, but officials on Sunday have decided to lower the maximum speed down to 20 kilometers per hour, mainly because the 50 school zones designated have very narrow roads, all less than 8 meters in total width. Moving on, last Friday, Russian opposition leader Alexei Navalny fell unconscious and died in a remote Arctic penal colony where he had been serving a 19-year sentence. Rallies were held in cities across Russia to honor the 47-year-old politician who was a formidable domestic opponent to President Vladimir Putin. But because protests are illegal in Russia under strict anti-dissent laws, authorities have harshly clamped down on Navalny supporters. At least 359 people have been detained over the weekend. And since getting knocked out of the Asian Cup, the South Korean national soccer team has been continuing to hit the headlines. From the team's loss against Jordan, ranked 87th in the FIFA World Rankings, to reports of a fight between star player and captain Son Heung-min and midfielder Lee Gang-in, South Korea's national team has had a rough time recently. On Friday, the Korean Football Association decided to oust the team's head coach, Jurgen Klinsmann, and the KFA explained Klinsmann had failed to show his competence in managing the game and the players. Korean fans were also shocked by news of the altercation between two star players, Son Heung-min and Lee Gang-in. Son, playing for Tottenham Hotspur and also serving as captain, clashed with his junior, Lee Gang-in, who is midfielder and is playing in the club soccer in France's Ligue 1. Now, the KFA confirmed that the two fought about playing table tennis right before their match with Jordan, and this reportedly led to Son hurting 2 fingers, and photos and videos from the game against Jordan showed a white bandage strapped on his right hand. And this news has created a lot of buzz here in Korea, especially since it had to do with the fight between two of the most popular players. Also, given that we're living in a Confucian-based society where respect towards one's senior is very important, the public is expressing their disappointment, especially against the younger athlete, Lee Gang-in. So here in the studio, we've seen a lot of buzz being created on this story. What were your thoughts?
You know, I would really love to hear Walter's opinion as well, because I know he's a very big soccer fan. But just to give you my quick opinion, I think it was a very hasty decision. I think when it comes to very hot-tempered, especially pro athletes, you know, small scuffles always happens. I'm not condoning, obviously, physical violence, but, you know, these things should have been dealt more internally. And I don't think it should have been, came out to the public, the media, to, raise such public reaction. And honestly, in my personal opinion, when did Klinsmann come on board? Like last July or something?
Right.
Yeah.
So he didn't have a year to adjust to the team or even get used to how, the players react, or even just a cultural difference, I suppose. So having him fired in less than a year, I don't know if it was such a rational decision. I wish they would give him more chance. And to be honest, I hope that these sort of internal affairs were dealt more internally rather than it being so public and the KFA getting involved.
Exactly. On the news feed, we've covered Klinsmann and the national soccer team a few times, and we've been seeing public dissent just pile on more and more, even following the Asian Cup. And as you mentioned, Cheska, I do think sometimes the public is very hasty with their decision as to make a decision, especially when building a reputation or image of a specific player.
Exactly.
Or like a public figure. And it comes to sports, our passionate nationality kicks in. We're really, really eager about our sports. But whether this was the most rash decision coming at the right time is another question posing concern. But what were your thoughts on this story?
Okay, so yeah, I could talk about this all day because it is the field of interest that I'm in. Number one, the public outrage towards Klinsmann, I would have to say that not a lot of people understand football to its T when it comes down to actual coaching style. I think what happens is there are a few people, usually the experts that do criticize Klinsmann, and then the rest of the public who don't have a base knowledge then hop on that train, and then therefore it becomes a bigger problem. It became a bigger problem when politicians got involved and therefore tried to use it as something as to promote, their
political agenda.
Run at the moment. Now, in regards to the incident between Son Heung-min and Lee Gang-in, I do think Lee Gang-in is the person that he did apologize is in the wrong, because Son is the captain and there is a certain respect that you have for your team. And since there was just before the game against Jordan, they should be really concentrating on the team itself and on the game itself. So I do think, and even though he did apologize, I hope this is a learning curve for In, and I hope that things are better now. But to be honest with you, though Son Heung-min had his fingers wrapped, that's not going to really affect his game too much. So we can't really blame that on the reason why they lost.
And I think we shouldn't be too foggy about what actually happened. There are so many local media reports on what happened during their altercation, but you really don't know. Neither Son Heung-min or Lee Gang-in made a public statement as to what happened during the locker room or during their dinner last night. But we're already seeing so much public having a lot of hate against specific players, and it's really sabotaging their future career, especially when it comes to advertisements or their performance in games. So I think now is the time for us to take a step back and see what happens, and especially wait for the KFA has to say. Now let's switch gears to our main discussion topic of the day now. Korean food has been booming in popularity around the world. Thanks to its unique yet irresistible spectrum of tastes, a lot of people can't get enough of it. That's why we've seen Korean food products surge in sales around the world, and at the center of Korea's great food are its sauces. So today we're going to be talking about these sauces that give our dishes such great flavor. And Walter, why don't you start us off by explaining the types of sauces out there and their ranking in popularity?
Yes, so I am also seeing Korean sauces all over the internet these days, not just here in Korean videos, but all in Western videos all around the world. Now, one thing I love to watch on YouTube is cooking videos as well as mukbang videos. And Western dishes are adding more and more Korean style flavors into their dishes. So if we take a look at the screen, I'll just show you the demand that the Korean sauces have these days. Now, as we can see, red pepper paste or gochujang exports are the highest among the three sauces I've listed today. Next, we have kanjang or soy sauce, Korean soy sauce, and then doenjang, which is fermented bean paste, one of my favorites. But the fact that we are doing it at $62 million for gochujang, that's amazing numbers for a Korean sauce. So I think it's great to see our flavors penetrate the whole entire world.
Exactly. Our flavors are spreading around the world and really affecting all those palates out there. Now, Cheska, would you like to add on as to how these record exports are really showing a surge in popularity for Korean sauces?
And I love that Walter is always so excited when we talk about food, because it also gets
a big foodie.
It also gets me excited too. So in terms of the volume, that's about 130,000 tons of Korean paste being sold overwide over to 139 countries, which is probably the most countries that we've ever sold like Korean paste and hot sauce, all around the world. And that's about twice the growth in about a decade.
Wow.
So there definitely seems to be a trend and a boom that is really pumping up the sales and the popularity of these kind of K hot sauce. And I was really curious, like, is this a sort of a fad, or is this really happening? Like, do people really love K sauce? Get this, I Googled, and in New York Times cooking recipe, there's a gochujang caramel cookie.
What?
That wait for it, that got a 5.0 perfect star with over 5,500 votes.
Wait,
so people
in New York?
In New York Times cookie.
Wow.
You can Google it right now. It actually got reviews.
5.0 out of 5.0. That's really high.
Chili caramel.
But it doesn't seem to
Gochujang.
mesh, no?
Yeah.
No, but that's quite interesting
I know.
to find that red chili paste could actually dominate the world by adding on different flavors.
On desserts now, I
Exactly.
suppose. Yeah, I'm very
So
excited.
we are seeing a lot of sauce, especially spicy Korean sauce, really captivate the global audience there. But why do you guys think that K hot sauce is being so popular?
Well, here's the thing. The team of News Generation kindly asked me to show you the reasons why things are so popular and put my mouth to the test and just to show you some of the sauces that Korea has to offer. Now, as you can see, I'm doing a mukbang style video again and rating the spices, but all yes, putting more gochujang with tteokbokki, which was a little more spicy than what I originally thought it was going to be. But yes, a lot of things are going through YouTube, through viral trends, etc. Especially with this buldaksauce. Now, I don't recommend this at home because I decided to do this just for curiosity, as Cheska asked me earlier. And there we can see my face and my sweat is a little bit. That was one glass. I had about 4 of those glasses.
Oh my God.
Plus yogurt, everything just to make it through that video. 20 out of 10. It was ridiculously spicy, but you've seen that sauce all over the internet. Everyone talks about it. Everyone wants it. Everyone's into these spicy sauces, and that is one of the spicy sauces that you should at least try, but not like me. Yes.
And as you've tried it out, what do you think makes it so appealing then?
I think, to be honest with you, it is a challenge in itself.
Right.
A lot of people love challenges these days. It's somewhat Instagrammable or YouTubeable, and many people do enjoy that sort of challenge. Now, I don't know like why people eat that on a regular basis, but I do know friends who do it, who crave it, and they're like, I just add it to everything. I'm like, what is wrong with you? Because that's ridiculously spicy, but I don't think a lot of Western palates would like it just for the taste. I think it'd be more for challenges. Maybe, maybe not. If they do, then that's crazy.
No, because I actually have like a foreign friend from the States who buys those buldak. In Korean, it's actually called like fiery chicken. It's really spicy, but she just has it around like it's portable. So
oh, really?
Whenever she goes to the restaurant, if it's way too mild for her, she would just sauce it out. And I thought it was really interesting for me to see how Korean sauce is just so convenient to carry around. It adds a tang of spice to every dish, making it really tasty.
Tang, more like a massive.
I was just about to say, not an explosion of volcanoes.
And exactly. And Cheska, would you like to add on to why Korean hot sauce, spicy sauce in particular, seems to be so popular?
Well, I mean, I think one of the things is obviously viral challenges that people sacrifice themselves.
Thank you, Walter, by the way.
To promote our K culture. Thank you for your palate and your intestine and body and whatnot. But one of the things that really got into it is obviously the K culture.
Right.
So the K content was a perfect marketing tool for any types of K food, not just like hot paste, but you know, the chicken, the chimek, the chicken and the beer. So it definitely served as a very good portal for K-sauce to really be exported into international countries, especially when it comes to K-pop stars. I heard that BTS Jungkook, he, I guess, recorded this very special recipe of a noodle where you put the hot spicy sauce and a little bit of like oil and then do the egg. So, you know, obviously the fans really took them on. And I guess another thing is when it comes to Korea cultural content, I think now South Korea has sort of become a brand. So remember when macaron has an attachment to French, France, and you know olive oil has a brand of Italy? I think now as Korea sort of elevates its status as a country and a brand, people sort of attach Korean food with certain level of admiration and curiosity, which I'm honestly so happy and proud of.
Right, so Korean cultural content or the brand itself is making a lot of people curious about our sauces, and both of you guys have tried it out almost your whole life. So what do you think makes it so unique compared to other sauces in the world?
I guess it comes down to actually how it's made, in my opinion. So, for example, gochujang is actually made from cheongyang peppers. Now, this differs from sauces like sriracha, which are made from red jalapenos. So if you actually come to Korea, you might actually see some houses, especially in small neighborhoods, where they put out a tarpaulin and they dry out all the red peppers. And you can see it here, it's been handmade as well. That's sort of really unique here in Korea, where you can get a lot of even though it's, on shelves, you can get a lot of handmade gochujang. It's just as delicious, especially when it's homemade. So I think it differs in regards to the way we make it as well as the ingredients.
Exactly, and it's just years and years of tradition, and sometimes we have our own homemade recipe which comes down from generation. Now, Cheska, would you like to compare how Korean sauce tastes like with other sauces from the world?
Yeah, I think sriracha is a very popular sort of like American or sort of like American hot sauce that you see when you go to these counters. But one sauce that I would particularly like to point out is 쌈장 and doenjang, which are both bean-based. So I must confess, I have a baby palate when it comes to hot spicy food. So if people like me, these are more mild and bean-based and have a more neutral and sort of very savory taste when it comes to food. And also one other thing that I think appeals to Korean people about, you know, hot chili paste of Korean is because it's made with Korean pepper, it supposedly has a vitamin C of about 20 times more than a single apple.
Oh, wow.
And some people actually use it to diet because it
I
burns.
thought you said to die.
Diet.
You would know.
Yes.
Well, I guess it could go both ways, but to diet because it really, as we saw in the video of Walter, it makes you sweat, it makes you burn.
Exactly. And we asked our viewers what their favorite Korean sauces are and whether it includes the really spicy sauces that's good for your diet as well. Take a look at the screen to find out what 3 of them had to share with us. So Ramsey said, I like gochujang because it goes well with different dishes and I can adjust it to make sauces for Korean barbecue and bibimbap. I often use it to make marinades for some meat dishes. Leon said, my favorite K-sauce is gochujang, which is fermented red chili paste because of the smoky, savory, and spicy notes that adds on to different dishes like stews and sauces and kimchi. Now, doenjang fermented soybean paste adds a deep, complex umami flavor to stews, soups, and marinades. Toby said cheonggukjang, strong fragrance, but tastes like heaven. Wow. That's actually a really interesting comment because even here in Korea, there's a lot of split opinions as to whether cheonggukjang is the way to go or not. But to better find out just how popular K-sauce is and how it's being used in other parts of the world, we're going to include a food business owner from the States in our talks. Stay tuned for our live interview. We're now going to talk to Dan An, the Direction of Operations at Kimbap Lab in New York. Welcome, Dan.
Thanks for having me.
All right, Dan, we had you on News Gen last time to talk about the popularity of Korean food in the States, particularly kimbap, Korean-style rolls. Along with K-food's popularity, would you say Korean sauces are garnering much attention from the American consumer base as well?
I think so. I don't think it's as much as viral as when the kimbap went viral, but I think it's starting to pick up. A lot more people are starting to know about Korean food, Korean ingredients, and as a result, they're very interested in Korean sauces. Like you said earlier, from K-pop and all these things, they see all these sauces being used. So yeah, it's definitely something where I think the general public is getting a better idea about and more curiosity about.
Awesome. So what type of food in particular is popular among American consumers and what type of sauces are they mostly using?
So it's interesting. I think, in Korea, when we have gochujang and things, we have a very set idea of what we want to use it for the most part, right? And I think in America, there's a little bit more flexibility because, some of these people, they don't know exactly how to use these things. So they kind of comes out being a little bit more creative. Or, the second generation of Korean Americans, they do the same thing. They want to do something a little different, like that strawberry gochujang cookie, things like that. I think the other thing you see too is there's a lot of fancy Korean Michelin restaurants in the States. In New York, there's at least 10 of them here. And I think what you're seeing is a lot of these chefs from other fancy restaurants and stuff, they're also interested in those sauces because of these fancy restaurants. And it's kind of trickling down. So even right now, Shake Shack has a gochujang chicken burger and I think just a Korean barbecue burger. So it's just going out to the general public, in that sort of sense. I think in terms of food, I think chicken is one of the most, easiest things. So you make wings, you can make burgers, all these things.
Dan, you gave us some really great examples, but what do you think it is about the Korean paste that is getting people so excited to the point where they're now experimenting with actually making caramel cookies, which I would actually be open to try? Yeah.
Yeah, I think, there's just a general curiosity. I think, part of that curiosity is the buldak where it's really spicy and they want to have that challenge. But I think the other side of it, there's a lot of foodies in the US now, right? And, the exposure to Korean foods or just any sort of food that is beyond, basic American food has expanded dramatically since, when I was a kid, seeing gochujang on a menu is unheard of, and see Shake Shack or something is very different. So the palette has been changing for the general public, and I think that's what's driving a lot of this. They don't want just the buffalo wing hot sauce anymore. They want a gochujang chicken wing, or they want all these other flavors.
I'm so happy to hear, as a Korean, that Korean palates is really amazing the world, and we're seeing big brands like Shake Shack even use our local ingredients there to captivate the American audience. That's amazing. Thank you so much, Dan. It was a pleasure talking to you today.
Thank you, Dan.
Yeah, same here as well.
All right, and I think another advantage of Korean sauces is that we have so many options out there. Once you go to the market, there's like different types of gochujang, different types of doenjang, and you can make so many different types of food with it. And as Dan mentioned, it's really interesting to see like a fusion of Western food using Korean ingredients to customize a dish to your own taste. So before we end off, would you guys like to share your own personal favorites on how to use Korean sauces to better up the taste of your dish?
Don't recommend putting it on a sausage and like sweating it. I don't
do
want
it the
that.
way
yeah.
I did it because that's a bit silly. But you know, it's not something that I've done myself. But I'm really into American style barbecue. I love brisket. I love all that sort of that collection of meat that you can get. And I know that people these days are using gochujang or red pepper paste as a binder to put it on their brisket, and therefore that slow cooks over time. And I've also seen people use red pepper paste as like dips, mixing it with mayonnaise and something like that to enhance their dip flavor. So I think it's a good idea to invest in gochujang today, I think.
Exactly. What about you, Cheska?
You know, I think now I can offer some advice to those people who are not as high-ranking in the spicy palette. For me, what I do is when I make a pasta, it's so easy to just get a little teaspoon, not tablespoon, teaspoon of gochujang and add it to either cream paste or tomato paste, and it adds a little bit of kick into it.
It does.
It's so good.
It does. It does. It's like a new fusion pasta, like gochujang pasta.
Exactly.
And I would recommend, there's not only just spicy sauces, guys, but also soybean paste. It's amazing with anything. You can make tteokbokki out of it. You can also make stew, doenjangguk soup. So you can just have fun with all the Korean sauces out there, and hopefully our episode helped you do that. Now, in the meantime, we'll be here every day from 9:30 to 10 a.m. Korea time, bringing you more topics young people are talking about. Special thanks to Walter Lee
Lovely to be here.
and Cheska Dainong.
Pleasure's always mine. Thank you.
All right, and thank you everyone for watching. We'll see you tomorrow. We are
News
News
Generation.
Generation.